Oh, yeah, I can hear you. Yeah, all
Tripp,
good.
welcome to the Koutas Show.
Thank
dude.
you. Thank you for having me. You're looking great. I mean, for all you that didn't notice, I got greeted at the door like this. It was awesome. I love it. I feel
Gotta
like
dress up, man.
feel like if you ever seen How I Met Your Mother, like the Barney, always written in a suit
Ooh,
up.
Barney
We
is
had
the
to
best.
Suit up. Neil Patrick Harris.
We love it, man. Well, welcome to the show. Glad to have you on.
Thank you.
You look great as well.
Thank
so,
you.
What you been
Thank
up to, man?
Just working. Working. If I can get a little squeeze away of time for some video games on the PC, that's what I do. And hanging around with the family, I still like being in town. How about you? All good?
Yeah. Done coaching this year. It's taking a year off.
Wow.
So that was probably my biggest decision, and then doing this year now, and then still working.
You're still playing too, right?
Yeah, still playing soccer on the weekends. We have about 8 games left, which is fun.
Yeah.
So our season kind of goes from it's pretty early in the spring. It's usually like 40, 50 degrees when we start, and then it goes all the way until like end of September, beginning of October when it gets kind of cold again.
Yeah.
So it's like a full, I think 16 or 18 game season. Plus we have like state cup tournaments as well as other tournaments that are just a little bit ridiculous. But they do build up into like a national tournament that you can go to like Florida or Texas and compete in. We lost in like the second or third round, I think.
Is this like club? Is that what it like? How?
Yeah.
It's like
So
men's club type of thing.
So it's technically a semi-pro team. It's called the Premier League, or PSL, Premier Soccer League of Chicagoland.
Yeah.
There's PSL, there's MWSL, which is Midwestern Soccer League, which is also kind of on like the same level as us. And then above that, there's probably the UPSL. And then above that is like USL 2. And these aren't like connected leagues. They're sort of separate in their own way, run by different people. But USL 2, USL 1 are run by the same people, and USL 2 goes into USL 1, and then it goes from USL 1 to like championship, which is below MLS, and then it goes to MLS.
Sure.
So there's somewhat of a structure of it, and we're kind of below UPSL in my opinion, which is like 4th division. Like 4th or 5th division, they're kind of interchangeable.
Sure.
But it's still fun to play competitively, and it's completely different than like rec or Sunday league. It's actually organized. You have trainings, you have games, you have like organized formations,
workouts,
teammates,
and all that. Yeah.
And you have guys coming from D1 colleges. We played against a couple Northwesterners who are playing currently. So you get guys that are super fit, running miles and miles a day, which is fun for me because that keeps me on my toes. But it's also sometimes frustrating because they're really good.
Yeah, you got to keep up. But I mean, I the same when I play sports, even in my life, like you got to run with the best, because then you always like, the competitive nature in you. If you're a true competitor, you're gonna get up to them. You're gonna play to their level. You can't get squandered. That's just embarrassing. So I know how you are. Even if you get squandered one practice, you go, no, I got to put in the work to not get that. So. This is going to be an off-topic thing, but you went to weather. I always feel like in October times, growing up, I remember like Halloween, it would be like snowing.
Yeah, no, I remember that too. I remember it being way too cold to even go.
We're gonna take a bet, like how the weather's gonna be this Halloween, because I swear it's been like mild, like I'm not getting into global warming or anything like that. I'm just saying like it's just interesting. I swear like we were like growing up, I was like in a winter jacket, and I don't think it's like that anymore.
I remember it being cold, but I still remember just being sometimes sweater weather. It was on and off each year. But I do remember about 4 years ago or 3 years ago, it was snowing on Halloween and no one went out. The day before or day after, it was like super warm. But the day of Halloween, I'm pretty sure it was like snowing, and it was like 31 degrees, and everyone was like, yeah, it's not, we're not going outside.
Yeah. That's just weird. Yeah.
So what do you think? You think it'll be warm, or do you think it's going to be freezing cold?
I'm taking the warmer route. I'm
Warmer
hoping,
out?
Why not?
Even like 50 degrees or 45 degrees is perfect.
40, like still like North Face light jacket type of weather, but not like not like earmuffs, I guess.
Yeah,
If that
for
makes
sure. I
sense.
mean, you want the kids to wear costumes and then not be like either sweating in them or not being able to wear them because it's so cold.
Yeah.
And they have to wear like 6 layers of Under Armour jackets and then like their costumes
Exactly.
covered up like they're wearing a Spidey suit and they're wearing like a giant jacket over. It's like ruins the point.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's just weird, but good luck in soccer. I mean, I'm sure you'll do great. Yeah.
Yeah. You've been staying active at all? Any sports or anything? Or
So, yeah, actually, a little bit. I wish I got on more. Just been working, like I said, and then I get lazy and I game. But I do once a week. I got invited to go play with actually there's a wide range of ages. It's basketball, though. I've still played a little bit of basketball.
pickup, or is it like organized, like a Sunday league or Monday league or whatever?
More pick up and organize, I guess. It's one it's a group of guys, usually the same around a group of guys that get invited, and it's a wide range of, they're actually school teachers, like some gym teachers, and then they invite kind of their close circle of people who are athletic, people who played, and somehow I got invited, and then I love it. It's like after work, 15 minutes from my office, and I go change out of the suit, get into LeBron's, and I play. So
That's sweet. I mean, yeah. Is it anything like what it was back in high school playing basketball?
No. Yeah, I don't know. High school was funny. It reminds me more of I played a little intramurals in college with my roommates and my other teammates. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we had some good times, and when we graduated, we graduated in a weird time as it is, but then it just kind of fell off a little bit. So it's good to get back active, back at it. And it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how did you adapt to everything that happened in 2020 when how did you get the notice? Did you pay attention to it, and like did you also go home and work from home and do school from home, or did you stay at school? Because I know a lot of people did.
Yeah, no, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I remember coming home. We were during spring break is when it all started happening. I went to school in Arizona, so I flew back home. Me and my cousin were home, and one of our other roommates, and we packed our bags just like we had nothing. Just had our spring break backpack essentially. And I remember like telling my mom about the outbreak, and it didn't reach or like, I don't know, something like that. And then throughout the week of spring break, it got progressively worse of the, news outbreaks and things. So I remember us saying, like, if we are going to get a lockdown, we need to fly back to Arizona because all of our stuff's there. Like, right. I only had a bag,
Yeah.
All the Xbox is there, or like
that's the most important thing.
And then I had a group of my friends, we all had our house in Arizona. There was 5 of us, one of them being my cousin, and then my 2 best friends. And so we did get, obviously we all got locked up, and it was I think it was more fun being down there, with all them rather than home. And don't bring it up to my mom about us graduating during COVID, because she's beside herself on that. But
yeah. So you didn't walk either? I don't think anybody in our graduation class walked that year.
Got to see the name go down the screen, one of those.
We did a video graduation where you could submit a video and like say your name. And it was kind of cool because there were some people that were very outdoorsy, and they sent probably the funniest videos you could think of. There was one dude who was in like a river, and he was just like fishing with his feet in the river and just tossing. He was like, and then he like said his name, and then he just like sit there. And he
I
just,
like it a little.
He just
hey.
like the video was from the outside, and then he just like threw a reel, and then he was just like reeling it, and then he just said his name and like the year he graduated, and then that was it. And then I went to the next clip, and then everyone else's clips were like MacBook videos of like them just being like, "Hi, I'm this like." I majored in this, like, whatever, and they would do, like, a couple seconds video. I never did one because I was like, I was like, this is kind of strange. The most important thing to me wasn't, like, the recognition. It was, like, walking on the stage and getting the photos of my family and my, like, grandparents and my parents.
So my school did this. I didn't do it. Did they have, like, so we graduated in May 2020. I think in winter of 2020, they brought out, or like during homecoming around that time, they invited all of us back to walk the stage.
Yeah.
I was like, no, like I'm already out in the real world trying to work, trying to make it, like I'm not going back for that. I'm done. It's months later. Did you take them up on that? Or like,
I did not. I did the same thing you did. I had a couple of buddies that obviously went to Iowa State, and I just sat there and was like, it doesn't feel the same. Number one, it was also during winter, and I was like, I don't think I want to stand outside and take pictures in the middle of winter, especially in Iowa. I mean, Iowa can be brutally cold, and it's like the wind is brutal across your face, and if it's snowing, it's even worse. You just want to go inside and not do anything. But I would rather have done it in the summer, and they did kind of offer something, but all of my friends were like, nah, we're just kind of in our own career, doing our own thing, and it's like you got to take PTO now because you're in the real world, and it's like, do you really want to do that and get there on a Friday? And it just wasn't really out there for us to be like, yeah, let's go do it. So we kind of just all skipped on it and kind of were like, yeah, it's not worth it.
I was there with you. Yeah. I mean, I still, my mom's not happy, but oh well. Like,
we took graduation pictures, I think, in my backyard. I graduated in my backyard. I pressed submit on the button, and I was like, yay. It was like 10:30 in the morning, and I'm like, I graduated. I finished my last final.
Well, I mean, you're in a suit now, doing well. So I mean, that's how it is.
We definitely learned how to adapt. I mean, especially that last semester, having class in your own bedroom or adjusting to anything where you're doing it at home and there's no one around you. There's no library anymore. It's just you, your room or your family room, and a pencil and a pad of paper, and you got to get everything done for the rest of the semester.
Yeah. Well, I have a question because you're in the same thing as me.
Mm-hmm. Mechanical engineering?
Well, I'm electrical engineering, but I just meant engineering. Mm-hmm. And how was it finding like a job right after? Because I mean, I'll get into my story about it, but
yeah. So
like
it was
right after graduating.
Right after graduating,
at 10:30 in your backyard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So once I graduated, I personally didn't really look for jobs right out the bat because I wanted to finish as strong as I could. And with that being said, I intentionally wanted to take like a month break just to be like, I'm graduated. Like, I'm going to be working now. I'm not going to be able to take a summer break. So this is kind of like my last month and a half summer break to actually do whatever I want to do, just relax and enjoy like a little time off before I go work anywhere. So, but once I ended, I started applying, and obviously everything was shut down. So no one really could hire you and bring you on in the onboarding process because a lot of that's in person. So what ended up happening was I just kept applying, and then I actually got offered a position or interview in like Iowa. It was in, I think it was in the Quad Cities of Iowa. I forget the exact location. And I went out there and visited, and then I was like, do I really want to live in the rural suburbs of Iowa at the ripe age of 22 years old? And I went through the interview process because it was the only really gig that I thought I was going to get. And then I was like, ended up just saying, I don't think this is the right fit for me, just like life-wise. So I ended up staying here in Chicago. And then a couple months after, there was like no real traction for anything for like months. You could be applying.
That's what I felt too.
And just the candidates were either better than you because they were 2 years experience that just got laid off from COVID job, or there's other graduates that are looking for the same positions you are, and they could just get you a little bit earlier. They could be the one that's above you on the list, and they have the same, caliber as expertise as mechanical engineering you do. And then I eventually found recruiters, and recruiters started calling me, and I was like, why would I not pick up the phone to a recruiter? Their job is to get me a job, so why wouldn't I do that? And then I got with a recruiter. He went to I think University of Texas. He was a pitcher there, and he was a pitcher in the minor leagues. He was awesome. He was also like 6'7".
Yeah,
super tall guy. I want to get him on the podcast as well because he's super cool, but he lives pretty far away. But he called me up and he was like, hey, like I got this job. Like, you're a mechanical engineer. I saw your resume. I was like, okay, like what are your thoughts on this position? Like, it's a design position. I can't really tell you anything. And I was like, what? Until you say that you're like okay with this. And I was like,
yeah.
What? I was like, yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm 100%. I'll be in. Yeah, I'm down. I need a job. Yeah. And he was like, okay, sounds good. We'll get you an interview. And then I went to the interview, and it was Weber Grill. Yeah. So I was like, this is crazy. I was like, and I was looking at the Weber grill. That's like all the grills and
yeah.
making sure I'm up to date. And then I was like, well, I don't really have a Weber grill in my backyard, but I do like Weber grills.
Yeah,
Like the kettle is so iconic. And then I ended up getting the position there as a contract to hire. And then that was like essentially towards the beginning of like the work lockdowns / work from home, where it was kind of like manufacturing can kind of come in but not, and then it was like a kind of a gray area. It wasn't the full lockdown. But then I ended up getting a laptop, getting a kind of accumulated to work, and then I got COVID in Thanksgiving. So I was working there for about 2 weeks, and I got COVID. So I'm pretty sure like on my first week there, I got COVID from somebody. And then I went going home, and I worked from home for like about 8 months. And
Nice.
it was awesome because you just call my manager in the morning at like 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., just rolling out of bed. My office is right next to my bed. And then I would just get on, open everything, have a conversation with him, and then just get right to work and get everything designed and fixed up. So,
Yeah.
but it was very tough. I mean, I didn't get a position until about November or December. So from graduating in May or whatever it was, I was just out of a job for months.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, so the reason I asked is like everybody now that I see, they go like, well, I guess spoiler, I'm not an engineer anymore, or I mean, like I'm in finance, but how did it happen? They're like, how did you make that change? And it all started with kind of like things falling through in the engineering world when I came out. You know, I did my senior project with Caterpillar actually, and I remember turning in that project. There's like me and one other mechanical guy that carried the whole squad pretty much, and he's like, I would love to hire you guys. They have a proving grounds in Peoria, Illinois. They had a proving grounds down in Arizona, and but he's like, we can't hire anybody right now. Like it's COVID. We have no idea what the future brings. And then so I went home, and I gotta admit I was like a little gung ho on like I just wanted to get going. You know, I wanted to start making money. I wanted to get out of the house, like do it all. And so I tried to find something. I was applying everywhere I could. And then in meantime, I went, my aunt and uncle, very staples in my life of entrepreneurs. They taught me a lot. I learned a ton from them. And so I ended up going and seeing my uncle, and he's a little, like he's still owner of the business, but he's kind of like semi-retired, but he was doing investments. He was doing like day trading strategies, options, that kind of thing. And I went to him and I was like, I would love to, you know, like, let's do this together while I'm trying to find something. I got nothing to do. So I was like, this would be cool. And I took my programming electrical skills and I made like our own algorithms type of things to try to day trade. I ended up doing that for years. I ended up doing, I would in the morning, wake up in the morning, kind of go through everything, 7 a.m. like market would open up at 8:30 a.m. I'd probably day trade till like 10, and then I'd go work for my aunt, or you know, both of them. I would go work at their construction company for the rest of the day to supplement whatever income I needed, and then go home. And that was that was a while. It was good. I mean, so I always go back to say, you know, like engineering life, I love it. You know, I'm a tech guy. I want to be a problem solver. That's what engineers are. So I still like to think that I am a problem solver.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's just interesting how that transition happened. And then my dad went through a little bit of health issues there too, where it kind of, I was glad that I had the flexibility to work. Like my aunt is his sister. So when I worked for his sister, I had the flexibility to kind of help my dad through that stuff. But that really opened my eyes to sort of the purpose of financials and purpose of financial planning. I had to take over his finances. I saw what he did in the past, and I just want to help people not end up like that. And so I got fully licensed and I worked at Merrill Lynch for a little bit and then landed where I am now. So, I mean, it's you know me, it all happens for a reason. You're always right where you need to be, and it's weird how it comes about, but that's what it is.
Yeah, so the purpose being helping people with their financial goals because you've seen the negative side. You've seen what it can do to people in terms of their finances and how it can truly bring out struggle. And there's always that saying, it's like, if you're poor, if you don't have any money, your problems could all be solved by money. But then once you get out of those problems, then finding purpose and finding happiness is a lot tougher. But that extra money, that extra financial step is probably the biggest awesome step that you can take.
Yeah.
And then once you get that financial freedom, you can kind of get yourself into a position to actually give purpose to yourself, give things back to the world, and then be okay with where you're at so you can help other people as well, which sounds exactly what you're doing.
I'm so glad because that's honestly, like, you're healthy, you're born healthy. The hardest race, I always say, to win is being born. Like, out of all the, we got born. And then despite that, like, my hands work, my legs work, and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like I got dealt a good hand of cards. You got dealt a good hand of cards. Let's do something good. Like, we're not destined, but like, we should be successful to give back to others, to help others, maybe who don't have the same dealt, like, card, the same hand. They still won the same race. It's tough, but so that keeps me going too. It's like, and it's not like it's rocket science. Like, it's the reason my dad was where he's at is maybe just a lack of planning or a lack of, health problems will never happen to me type of thing. And then when it does, it's almost like it snuck up on him. But really, like, if you just take the proactive step of planning, I think you could really snowball. And then, like you said, you can get to a point. And again, I learned it from my aunt and uncle who, they can give out not expecting anything in return. And I want to do that, I want to, I hate going, like, to dinners with my family or stuff like that. And I'm not at this point yet, but whole long table and everything. And then the bill comes out and everybody's like, like, what are we doing here? Are we splitting the checks? But you ordered 2 drinks. Like, no, I got this. I'm going to pay for it. I love all you guys. And that's, we shouldn't be, money should be the last thing, right? Like, so I think helping people get to that point, helping them walk through that point is a very purposeful vocation for me, So.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. There's one thing I wanted to touch on was, do you know Bet David, PBD?
No.
So he's got a great podcast, PBD podcast, but he has this story about his dad and how he kind of flipped the switch on everything. So his dad got really sick and they got to the hospital, and then, like, they weren't really giving focus to his dad in the hospital because obviously the nurses and doctors are working on plenty of other people in the hospital. There's a lot that's going on. And PBD gets really pissed off. He gets really aggravated because he's like, you're not giving my dad attention. So then he goes in there and then he's like yelling at people. He's like, what are you doing? Like, my dad's not getting attention. Like, he's in here, he's sick. Like, things are going on. Like, what's happening? Like, blah, blah, blah. He's just yelling at the nurses to the point where he gets kicked out of the hospital. So he gets the security called on him, gets kicked out. And then as he's leaving the hospital, one of the nurses comes up to him and basically says, like, who do you think you are that you have priority over everybody else in here? Like, you are nobody. Like, you have nothing priority over all the other people in the hospital that, like, have all these issues as well. And then he took that as perspective of, like, oh my God, like, I need to take care of everything so that I can get the financial freedom to pay for these kind of things, to pay for, like, the best health care, to pay for the best doctors, because it's a cost you're talking about. Like, if you have health problems in the future, but you're not yet financially stable, you're living paycheck to paycheck, you can't necessarily afford an emergency when it comes about, right? You get to that point, and then it's just like that one emergency happens, whether it could be like blown tires and it costs like $800 and you can't afford that $800. Like, you could just tumble yourself down.
Can
the
you
hill
afford not getting to work? Like, like that, that type of thing. So.
Yeah. So, and then it's like, you break your leg and then you're working in construction. It's like, you can't go to work. You can't make money. And the workers' comp doesn't cover the bills. And it's like, setting yourself financially free from those burdens and being able to have that kind of sustainability, that base to be able to be okay with if anything happens. It's like big deep breath. Let's take care of what's happening. We don't have to worry about the money side of things. So it's like, can we take care of things? Like, I want to focus on my health. I want to focus on like taking care of the emergency rather than, oh my God, am I going to be able to pay the doctor for this bill? And that kind of goes back to like having an emergency plan. I know we talked a little bit about Dave Ramsey earlier.
Sure.
Do you follow that plan? Do you tell people to follow that plan? Who do you think that plan is for? Because I've seen a lot of people criticize him, and a lot of people also love him.
I loved him. I want to say I still listen to him here and there, and I went through Financial Peace University before I was licensed, and I took a lot of his principles to heart. I think he is speaking to the masses, you know? Mm-hmm. He's speaking to a lot of, you know, the most people in America. That's who he's speaking to. And all of his principles are usually on point. I mean, maybe you can argue the whole, you know, cut up a credit card type of thing. You can, if you're pretty diligent with the credit card, I'm pretty sure you can make that work. But to be honest, I rarely use a credit card. I still use my debit.
I use debit card only as well.
I'm kind of that way. Just because I can track my finances easier. I could care less about the few $100s in credit card points. I think it's smart though, you know. Mm-hmm. And maybe if I was like, you know, I could do that. But Ramsey, I mean, his principles are there. You need to have the emergency savings. You need to have the, you know, and then his investment, you know, it's all about just, it's about good habits. You know, it's just about good habits. When he talks about insurance and life insurance and things, I think he's right on point too. Like, a lot of people don't like that conversation. I do life insurance. I mean, mm-hmm. I like wealth management better, but it's a big piece in finances. You know, going back to my dad, like my dad has a partner's life, and if I was 10, 15 years younger, if something happened to him then, what, you know,
right.
And he didn't have the assets he had, that means that his partner in life is maybe out of a house. How is he going to pay for me to go to school or anything like that? And that's a real conversation. Like we always say at work, you never buy life insurance for yourself. You buy it for your family.
Yeah.
And Ramsey would say the same. I mean, he you know, there's other where I disagree with him maybe a little bit more in being licensed and working with some higher net individuals is, you know, for those top percentile people.
Yeah.
For the people who pay a lot in taxes. That's where I think there's a little bit of customizable strategies, different mm-hmm. type of tax advantage strategies where he just, you know, doesn't roll out that whole, doesn't really show those right. cards. But I'd argue he probably does a lot of those things for himself. So.
Yeah, and I think the main thing about his show and all the teachings that he has is it's that foundation we're kind of talking about. Mm-hmm. If you get sick, you want to focus on getting better. Do you need to answer that?
No.
Okay. You want to focus on your health, right? You want to focus on getting better. Like when you're sick, you're not thinking of, oh my God, I can't go to work because I'm not going to be able to afford my mortgage or my rent that month or food. You want to focus on, okay, can I get some more vitamin C and just get healthier again? And I think that he has that base of like, this is the foundations, the basics of wealth to get yourself to that like $1 million net worth. And then I think above the $1 million net worth, like you said, getting into the high income people, getting into the people who have to basically try to avoid paying as much taxes as possible. Because when you're taking out, say for instance, you're in your 401k, you're in retirement and you have like $20 million in retirement because you just went crazy and got lucky in the stock market, plus you've been investing and had that foundation for such a long time, right? You have to make sure that you don't take too many penalties, you don't pay too many in taxes, right? You're not getting to the point where, you know, you're taking advantage of the things where you can like reinvest or you can donate and you can like reduce your taxable income. So I think he's not really applying it to those people, and some people that are in that situation like criticize him, but really he's just trying to have the people paycheck to paycheck get a good foundation, good base, so they can build wealth and actually get out of that broken cycle.
He's he's actually pretty upfront about it too, and that's why I like him too. He does admit that he's like, I'm trying to take you from 0 to like 1 million, 10 million.
Mm-hmm.
If you're above 10 million assets or net worth or around there, maybe this doesn't pertain to you as much. But so, and he admits that. And I think if you are like in that situation, even the principles, I look at my life, I'm not there yet.
Right.
I use his principles. I still use it. I mean, I might invest in a different way, but I have a term policy and I invest the difference. I prioritize my Roth accounts. I have an emergency fund. I mean, those things are all important. And you'd be surprised. I mean, I sit down with clients every day, people in their 50s, 60s, even 70s, and I look at their whole profile, and no, they don't have those things. So it's definitely a message that should be out there. And yeah, it should go through to the generations even when he's gone. I mean, that's another thing I always get into is like people bad shame our generation almost.
Yeah.
Either we don't work hard enough, we don't, like we never
super lazy.
Nobody wants to work anymore, and nobody, they're not going anywhere. And,
right.
I kind of say bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some, and maybe more concentrated than the last generations, but there's people out there like you and I who want to go get it. And I always said I want to do better than my parents did. I want to do better than my aunt and uncle, who are the most, like driving force in entrepreneurship and things like that. So that's what I'm going towards, and it's right there for the taking. So yeah. You just got to get going.
Yeah, I'm super competitive, so I'm always trying to win in whatever category I can.
Why not?
Exactly, why not? I kind of want to flip the script now on the opposite side of building finances is going into crazy amounts of debt and also like housing financing. So like I've always heard about like FHA loans and kind of how they're used, and I feel like people think it's a trap. And for some people it is, and for some people it isn't. I want to know what your thoughts are, and like people who are trying to buy that first home, like kind of like not advice, but what should they look out for in terms of like either penalties or anything of that sort?
Really, I think it has to do with interest rates. Have to do a lot there, right? Like I'm a finance guy. If you can, we always say like there's no reason to, like, if you have your interest rate at, let's say, below 4%, even maybe below 5%, what was your return last year on your IRA type of thing,
right.
So that beats it out. So I'd say for your first, your home is a big asset. I'd say don't be scared to do it. I'm even a little scared to do it. But I wouldn't be scared of the loan, like I really wouldn't. I think, staying around, having a nice down payment to make that monthly payment easier for you, I think that's the smartest thing. But paying back the loan, I guess. But you also have to look at yourself, because I know what Ramsey would say, and it's about what makes you sleep better at night, and then how quickly you can now save without a mortgage type of thing. So I think it really just judges based on your income level. And what I think most people do, which Ramsey would agree with, is they have that house rich, life poor type of thing, where they have 50% of their income go towards the mortgage, go towards their living. So it's like, okay, like let's just get you don't need an $800,000 house to have that. You can live in a $300,000, $400,000 house, essentially cut your mortgage in half, right? And then now you can start. It's all about doing it all together. If you're paying off your house, that's building up an asset. You should be contributing to your retirement accounts at the same time. You should have an emergency fund at the same time. You should be funding your next big purchase at the same time. If you could do all those things and live and still eat and live happy, then who cares? Like the loan is like nothing then to me.
Right.
You're still hitting your goals, and then you will get to that point. Like I always say to my clients and the people who I truly believe in, like whatever money you make now, hopefully you're going only up from here. So as you get those 2-3% raises, 8% raises throughout the years, that doesn't mean go buy that $800,000 house now.
Right.
It means now you can start maybe funding a little bit more to pay off the mortgage, or funding your goals even more.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's it's different for everybody. The marketplace out there right now is crazy with houses. You know, there's a lot of people looking for houses. The market's kind of weird, and we lived through the crash of '08, the housing thing, but
right.
I didn't understand finances back then.
I was 11. I think I was 11.
So it's interesting to see, but I think once you're ready income-wise,
you kind of have to go for it.
The loan shouldn't scare you that much, as long as it's about planning. I think it's like, okay, once you put the calculator and the notebook to paper, you see how much your down payment's going to make your monthly mortgage. You can simple calculators online, or sitting down with someone will tell you how much that interest rate would be, and that's it. As long as you can hit your goals and still contribute to the other future goals, I think it's time to leap.
Yeah, I think the variable rate and lifestyle creep are two big factors that people really struggle with. Once you get that 10K raise, you're like, oh, I can buy a 50 grand more house because I can pay the payment, when it's like, or you could stay in the same situation you are and use that income to either pay down more in the house, or save up more, or go out to dinner a little bit more, or build a bigger emergency fund in case something else happens, right?
Yeah.
Kind of build a bigger finance, but the lifestyle creep can definitely kick in. And I feel like the younger generation especially, that lifestyle creep can go quickly because of the fact that when you're young in your career, I feel like the jumps up in pay are pretty drastic, because when you come in, you're essentially an employee that has no idea what they're doing. You don't understand any processes of how the quote-unquote real world, meaning like that specific company, how that company operates, how they do things, what their product is, what the background is. But then like 2 years in, you're almost double your value, and you could go from a $30,000 salary to $60,000 salary in 2 years easily, because your value to the company has jumped that much. And then I feel like once they make that salary jump, they just lifestyle jump the same way, and they just dump their money.
That's the problem, right? Like, I think there's a book I read, I forget, I've like read so many money books at this point, but it was like something like a guy worked a very modest job, maybe retail, like literally like Walgreens or something, right? Worked there for years. He passed away at an old age, like 60, 70. He ended up donating $3 million to his local library. Ended up giving $1 million to his kids in Canton or something like that. And everybody in town was like, "What the hell is going on? Like, isn't that the guy who worked at Walgreens or wherever it was?" And he's like, "How did he have this money?" And it was because like he just never, that lifestyle creep was never a thing for him. You know, like he was pretty consistent with his income. He always saved more, he never spent more than he had, and never really like, I think he lived in the same modest house his whole life and things like that. And all of a sudden now he's donating millions to charity and millions to his local community when he passes away. And it didn't happen by accident. It just happened because he had the habits instilled into him, and I don't do it perfect either, but like I like my shiny new things. I like, like, I saw your computer up there. I got a new computer too. What I do is like, until I make that purchase, I'm like, oh, okay, like I either got to do something good with like, if I'm spending $1,000 here, I better put 1,000 away in my IRA before I do that, or like,
right.
Or something like that. Like that makes me feel better about it, like that I'm feeding my future first, then let's go have fun. And most people do it the backwards way, like even when I graduated college, most people, like, you have that nice college gifts or whatever, party, whatever. How many people do you think did a down payment on a new car?
Oh, yeah. I know people that did.
I mean, that's
like a 90 grand new car. So like student debt and a 90K new car. It's like you basically just bought a house.
So why not? Yeah, like I just say, like, granted, you didn't need to pay off the student loan or whatever, but I would pay off the loan first, or I would you know,
Right. Or
go
buy a super small
Ramsey
car.
would say is like go buy like a 3-year-old car for a third of the price or
Right.
whatever it is, and pay cat,
Right.
like
Pay cash for it, or just be able to pay it off in the next 6 months. Like, be able to afford something so that you're not putting yourself in such a big hole. Because these loans really are like some of the biggest killers of wealth that we're seeing, and especially in young Americans. It's like the fact that the government basically said that all of these student loans are going to be backed, and then the schools just kept raising the prices, and the government was like, okay, we'll raise the price that we allow for backing of the student loans, because everyone just kind of kept going to college and then going to college. And then it's like these loans are backed by the government, so they're going to get paid off no matter what. But then the interest accrues, and if you can't even make the interest payment, you're just putting yourself in such a deep hole where you're just crawling out and you can't even get an inch.
Yeah.
So like, it's just so tough for these young people.
That's what I'm saying, and it's like it is sad, but once again, I think it just takes some diligent planning, and most people do have that support system around them. And thank God for my family. I mean, like I got to live at their house for a few years after college, year or two after college, and that helps, like it definitely and I think that like it not jumping into that next stage is a smart thing to do, because then it's all about like, you're diligent, you're planning, and that's just I take that route rather than, and then I see it. I mean, my clients are higher individuals, higher net worth, and my family who are higher net worth. Those people who saved up and built up those habits, they can buy 4 of those cars without them hurting. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'd rather be in that position 30 years from now than having the shiny new toy right now.
Right.
And then as I get older too, I see that like a car is getting from point A to point B. So like,
yeah,
what do I really need that for? But I mean,
there is some nice aspects of it, but I think the real thing is just putting it in the budget, right? Like putting it in what really matters to you, and is it really worth the cost, or is it not worth the cost? And I think a lot of the times, especially early in people's careers, it's not worth the cost. It's not really worth all of that huge payment to where you're sitting there and you're just like, all right, well, now I got to eat ramen noodles for the next 2 months in order to afford this 370Z that I have outside, or like this souped up 2025 Mustang. It's like, you don't necessarily need it right now, but that I think one of the best things in the world is like delayed gratification of working so hard, like you said. And then once you get that shiny toy, you're like, oh my God, like the hard work I've gone to earn this. And then I heard a quote earlier today. It was, everyone wants to be where you are and wants to be in the success, but they don't want to see what it costs. Yeah. So like they want your success, they want the vision, but they don't want what it costs. They don't want the grinding.
Most people, even it goes back to sports, finances, or whatever, they say, oh, they must be lucky. Look at all that talent or whatever. Like they said that to my, such great luck. Like, no, you go back to the decisions they made 20 years ago, and every day of doing those decisions for 20 years, you got to look at yourself and say, can I do that? I think everybody can, but it's a matter of honestly being that disciplined, honestly being that consistent, and that's what you don't see. Like it's like those high sport athletes are those people who are, oh my God, he's so talented. No, he worked in the gym for months on end. And then same with the people who came from nothing and made it big or something. I guarantee somewhere along the way they worked their ass off and they spent less than they had, or like less than they made.
Live less on than you make. Yeah, it's a pretty simple concept. And then Mr. Beast probably said it best. It's you're crazy until you're successful.
Yeah, and
crazy until you're successful.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, like you got to. We live in the best country for this, and this is what life is. It's all out there for us. Mm-hmm. So you have that saying of, if in the world, if you're gonna look for something, you're gonna find it. It's out there for you. So if you're gonna look for, hey, I'm gonna be poor, I'm never gonna do this, I'm never gonna do that, you're probably gonna find it. Mm-hmm. But if you keep aspiring, keep going, hey, I'm gonna get that new car one day, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna keep finding it every day, you will.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that's how it is.
What's your main budgeting tips? Do you do budgeting?
I do.
Yeah. What's your big tips for for the folks?
Much like Ramsey, I like labeling, like, you start at your income and you gotta, like, every dollar has its purpose. Whether, I don't care if it goes into like a miscellaneous fund, but like where you get into trouble is where people go, okay, I'm gonna see where I end up at the end of the month, and that's what's gonna go into savings. That never works. I'd say get it automatic. Get that, even if you have to if you don't think you can afford it, use that as like inspiration or fire underneath your ass to do it. So I put stuff on automatic contributions, automatic savings. So it's almost built into my habits already, or built into my expenses. So when I look at like whatever, like my expenses are $2,000 a month or whatever, well, that encompasses savings already. It encompasses the retirement account, contributions. Where people get into trouble is they're like, oh, I'm going to do all this first and then I'm going to go into savings. That never works. You'll never,
Yeah,
it rarely works. But
I think that's a good point, because if you take that money and you put it somewhere and you say, hold on, before I cash this check out, right? I'm gonna put this money away because I know that, like, say $200, whatever the number may be, but it can even be $200, and that's enough for some people. But it's like, before you even get that paycheck, put it away. But I do like the 4 walls. I think those are like the best strategy. It's like home, first of all, roof under your head, food, like what's the other two?
Home,
clothing, and I think it's just utilities.
Well,
like sure your water's running.
I think you like insurances and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So just the basic necessities of life to live and function as a human being. And then it's like, okay, you can pay those off and make sure those are budgeted. And then it goes to like, okay, how much can I save? Because I don't really need the rest of this, because it's like Netflix and Disney Plus, and I don't really need it. I have it and it's nice, but just take that money and just put it away, and then have that chunk of like the 4 walls, savings, put it away, live on everything else.
Sure.
And like the 4 walls includes food, so it's like you're not neglecting food or anything.
Yeah.
But like going out to eat versus like the regular grocery food is a big saver. Like really being frugal in so many small aspects. Like, for instance, I really haven't gone out to eat in the last like 2 weeks. I gone to grab a slice of pizza from Napoli's, which is like $5 with a slice and a drink. But like, I just go to the grocery store, I cook food at home, I eat it, and you just save so much money. My breakfast is like $1 or $2 because I just did the cost breakdown. My lunch is like $3 because I did the cost breakdown. It's
my birthday's coming. Our birthday's coming up.
We have the same birthday.
Same exact day. I think like hours apart maybe, but
probably.
Our birthday's coming up. Don't buy me this because I think my family's gonna give me something. But I keep on asking for a rice cooker.
Rice? We have one.
A rice cooker.
It's
because
great.
I look at like what's filling to me, what's pretty healthy, and what's like, cheap. Rice, like
chicken and rice,
and even Ramsey would go crazy and say rice and beans to get the protein, and seriously, I challenge everybody. Inflation, prices, whatever,
inflation proof. Go
to Jewel. I know it's not in proof, but it's like you could get a bag of rice this big for like $1.90, and the beans are the same thing. They're like $2 or you know, whatever. You can walk out with like, not saying for everybody eat that all day, but
add chicken and add some peppers, and you basically have a Chipotle bowl.
So cheap, so like, and that's it. Like, I even need to do better. Another thing, like, impulsive buying is a thing. I instilled this with me. If something's over $100, you can't spend until you wait a day. So like, let's say you wanted like a new computer. Go, okay, I really want this new computer. You're hovering over the checkout button. If you have the discipline, sleep on it. And let's see if you wake up the next morning still wanting it. Because that's like, I saw myself doing that, whatever it is, and maybe the next day, or you go, I don't really need that, or you did more research or whatever. So
right,
that's another trick. It's not really budgeting, but I do that. Unless it's investing or something, you can go out and get it. But
Right.
yeah, like any big buy, take your time with it.
Yeah, I've found myself doing that a lot. I feel like one of the biggest tools I've used in terms of like saving money and building wealth was probably just like, okay, I'm going to put this in the next month. Like this month, I'm not getting it. I'm going to wait till next month, let the paychecks come in, save more money first, get myself to make sure I'm good. And do I need this? Like you were saying, that waiting kind of deal. But it's like, put it in the budget to act like I'm going to do X. I'm going to do this. I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this $300 item, not an impulse buy, because emotional purchases, I feel like, are always the path down to like a road to failure, a road to being less financially free than you want.
They're gonna happen, but
it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what the miscellaneous characterization you were talking about earlier was for.
Yeah.
But like for something like you're talking about big purchases, just put it till like next month, put it to the next day, put it on so you really can think about it and be like, I'm just being emotional about this. I don't really need it. And it's like buying groceries when you're hungry. You're gonna buy everything. You're gonna buy it all. You're gonna take those Oreo cookies and oh man, those crackers look good, and that give me that Dr. Pepper, then I need that, and if when you're full and you're satisfied, you're gonna be buying water and like chicken and like granolas with like you're gonna get breakfast stuff. You're gonna get the necessities you need rather than the random stuff that you don't need. And that hunger aspect of grocery shopping is the same with finances. It's the same thing.
Yeah. So you're right. I mean, it's true. You just got to find what works for you, find the discipline, and then at the end of the day, you got to look and you're not spending more than you make. That's really
That's what it comes down to.
And if you can, turn that extra income into deferred gratification, which is something that our generation does all struggle with, but if you can get to it, that's how those people, they're not lucky, they're not talented, they just did that for years on end.
Yeah, and I think it's like the high yield savings accounts that everyone talks about. It's like, oh, but this one has a 5.2%, this one's got a 5.0%, but this one it's got 4.9, but it's got a great move this money here, and it's like just start saving, get after it, get everything kind of rolling.
I do say when you get to a point, I mean, I'm a little biased in this, but I would say work with a professional. I guarantee if you talk to my dad 20, 30 years ago or something, he had it down, right? Mm-hmm. I'm covered. I don't need it, He needed it, I always say, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, not being an engineer really anymore, I know you know more about mechanical engineering than I probably ever would. But I could say the same maybe about finances with me, like, and the same thing, like I have clients who are plumbers, I can't do what you do, but you can't do what I can do, like, and that's the thing about like, I always say some people, they just hold all their money in the high yield savings account, and high yield savings account. Yeah, they're high yield right now, but as interest rates go down and things happen, if you look at the 10-year return of high yield savings account, it's probably like 2%. It's not at 5 usually. So what are you looking to do? Is that 2% going to be enough to save, or is it, and then maybe liquidity is an issue where I just always recommend taking your money and splitting it up into long, mid, and short-term horizons, like high yield savings accounts and things like that. That's short to midterm, right? But if you're long-term saving in that, I don't think you're going to keep up with inflation. I don't think you're going to hit your goals unless you have crazy income, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if you have longer years to invest, you're better off putting it in. You shouldn't be not contributing to your 401k. You shouldn't. You need to take advantage of those, especially if you have those advantages. So I think working with a professional, working with someone who will do that math for you, will do it, and kind of like sit at the same side of the table with you is a smart thing to do. Now, it's not always like I always say, like maybe it's better till you get to a point where it's like, okay, I can't manage this, right? Like, right. Like smaller amounts, whatever, that's fine. But if you have a few $100,000 laying around, if you have millions and you don't know what you're doing or something
Right.
like that, it's worth it. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
So,
that's awesome. Tripp, thanks for coming on, dude.
no problem. Thank
Much
you.
appreciated,
I
dude. You are
appreciate it.
awesome. How can we get into contact with you?
Yeah. Well, Jacob has my number. My, 847-902-9203. Go ahead and call me. That is my number.
Leave a voicemail
yeah.
saying you're looking for financial advice from Tripp, looking to get connected.
Yeah, you can come. I work on a great team, I would say highly experienced, and I want, like I said, it's all about helping people. It's all about investing in our generation. I want people to succeed. That's why we're here.
Dude, that's awesome. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for having me.